YouTube, it's Brad Phillips. Look at this. Dassault Rafale, 80 millimeter. Beautiful. Look, the canards move. They are active. All sorts of mixing going on here. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps, fast acting, all handled by the Reflex V2, which is what we're flying today. We have the ordnance. Look at the amazing landing gear here. We're gonna cycle these while you can see. Sorry, my finger was on one of the gear covers. Absolutely gorgeous and totally cool. And we're gonna put them right back down so we can take off. We have a little bit of a crosswind today. We're hoping that we can get this thing in the air without any problems. But I'll tell you what, I'm just kind of excited and nervous to fly this thing. 3 minutes and 30 seconds timer. Here goes nothing. Look at that power, guys. Stay right there. Okay. Back 3 steps toward the mailbox and stay there. All right, our wind is coming from the field. Okay, here we go. Holy cow, that got off the ground really quick. Okay, out of the gear. Sounds crazy. Okay, going into it hard. And forcing the nose down, it gets out of the high alpha quick. You hear it scream? Mm-hmm. Very strange. Okay, gonna try a pass here. Stabilizer's working really nice, folks. Very high rate of roll. Rudder is effective. Get that thing flying. LEDs are super effective. That is such a weird noise, guys. Trying not to get into high alpha where we can't showcase it properly. Let's go ahead and turn it. Now, we did this with a 6-channel lemon receiver, folks. We normally would use an AR620, but we're out. Listen. Oh, that looks so sweet. Not very fast, though. Look how slow it is. If you get into trouble, just roll her over, guys, because she will roll with those full-length ailerons. About 30% throttle here. We are flying on a 50C 5,000 milliamp hour smart pack. We have a voltage alarm, a little bit of rudder, just keep that nose pointed down. I'm gonna see if I can do a little bit of high alpha. We're kind of into crosswind, like I mentioned. Okay, so let's see if we can bring it up for some alpha. More touchy than I expected. Here we go, into the alpha. Guys, look at that, amazing. Not trying to hammerhead it, just trying to do high alpha. Okay, getting that nose pointed down. Boy, that silhouette is sweet looking, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, it is.
Almost out of the throttle altogether, full throttle. She really, really wants to waggle. 1 minute remaining. A little bit of trim to the right on the ailerons. I want to see if we can get this thing landed in one piece. You guys might be thinking to yourself, geez, that's a short flight. You're right, it is, kinda. Okay, gear coming out. We're just gonna relax the throttle to almost nothing. Let the plane essentially fly itself. We're not in auto leveling, we're just in stabilized mode. Just let that thing set into its natural state. And there it is, folks. And getting back off the ground as soon as she jumps, there it is. Gear up. Pointing it over with the rudder. We don't want a mouthful of grain, so we're gonna go around the grain carts. And we're gonna try that again. That's our 10-second countdown. Okay, gear coming out. They are slow, be prepared. Just relaxing, a little bit of throttle, about 10%. Let it get into its natural attitude. It'll start flaring on its own. There it is, guys. Touchy as heck on the nose gear once you're on the ground, so be aware. Oh, and full reflex there, just to kind of help slow it. A little bit of janking left and right. And we'll just go ahead and take it. And then we'll just thank our lucky stars. See, she almost tipped. Let's go ahead and back taxi it to us, check the voltages, and show you how we turned out. Guys, I'm still pretty nervous on this plane. I'm surprised by how crazy the pitch control is, and not in a bad way. It's just like the plane doesn't have enough speed to do what it's doing, but then it does it anyway. And yes, landings are actually totally easy. And you wanna know why? Because you literally just bring it in and fly it straight. You don't have to do anything. You don't even put any input to your tail. You don't put any input to your elevator. It just gets into the attitude it likes and it just relaxes there. So all I can say is, guys, get in there, fly the thing, land it. It just does what you expect it to do, and it does it right now, whether or not you want it to. Okay, couple things. First of all, I was on Expo 10%, rates 100%, and we kicked everything up to as high as we could go before the flight controller stopped responding, which meant that we basically have just a little bit extra output on each of the surfaces. Now, you can't go up to the full 150%. You can only go a little bit beyond 100%, and then it stops the output change. Same is true for flaps. Flaps are essentially a control channel on, control channel off, control channel neutral, okay? So that's on, off, neutral. Or what I'm trying to say is this, and this is not a good way of articulating it, but if you look at the monitor mode with us, on, off, neutral, or whatever I'm trying to say. So plus 100, 0, and minus 100. You don't do that, you just throw a channel at it and it does it. Now also, I wanted to share something new we just learned about the Reflex, and we learned it on this plane because we didn't have enough channels to turn on and off the stabilizer. Now, why is that a problem? Because if you don't plug in a channel, guess what your ailerons are gonna look like? If you leave the flap channel disconnected, that's what it looks like. That is the way it's gonna fly 100% of the time. So, if you don't have the 7th and 8th channel to do different things with, don't worry. Just put the stabilizer into the mode you want, which our case, we'll show you what it looks like inside of here real quick. And yes, we do have a radio set up and build just like usual. And yes, this is flying on the Reflex V2. You see the slow flash? There is a fast flash. Can you see it? There's a fast flash for binding and startup. And then there's also a flash that is nothing. It's just on solid and then off. Okay, so we're at 3.77. So we got basically exactly where we want to be on a pack. Now I gotta say, guys, these things always throw off my last cell. So it's gonna be high, watch. Yeah, 3.83, I don't think so. The rest of them are 7 something.
The Reflex is not flashing.
Yeah, it is. It's flashing right now.
Where are you looking? Oh, there.
That's why I was asking if you could see it.
I could just see
Camera crew could not see what I was talking about. Hold still right there. You see that? That's the flash rate. Now, why does that flash rate matter? Because look at this, guys. We have the S-Bus PPM mode not plugged in. We did have it plugged into the flaps. We changed the mode to the one we wanted, and then we unplugged it. And guess what? Even after a power cycle, it restored to the same condition, which is super cool. And look at this. Check Reflex for slow flash for stabilizer on. If you can read my handwriting, which I could barely read it. So anyway, guys, the really cool thing is you can actually fly this plane on a 6-channel receiver, which really drives the cost down, because if you have to go out and get an 8020T, you do get one very valuable piece of technology, and that would be the telemetry for the voltage on your battery pack, whether it's smart or not smart. So it basically tests off of the main discharge lead, which we've done in past experiences. In fact, I believe on our first Rafale, which we do have 2 of them, the other one is set up with Safe and AX3X, and we also set up basically Crow. And the reason we did Crow is because we didn't know any better. And also, for your information, I think the flight controller was still in there. We just didn't have the Reflex. Excuse me, not the flight controller. We had a mixing board in there, but not the Reflex. I still don't know where the mixing board is. There's evidently a mixing board in there somewhere. I'm not gonna tear this thing apart to find it. So if you know, leave it in the comments below. It's a little bit embarrassing, but you know what? You guys are out there, you can help us along. So all I've got to say is with Ordnance, the thing flies pretty dang good. I'm super surprised. I definitely felt really twitchy toward the right. And so I tried to trim aileron, or excuse me, toward the left. And I tried to trim right, and I still felt just a little bit sloppy toward that side. Now, I don't know if that's a rudder input, a differential in the actual the canards, which by the way, the canards only act as elevators, okay? They are full functioning, but they do not work as stabilizers, okay? They are full functioning, as in the full piece moves, but they're just acting as elevator input. So in case that makes a difference to you, I can definitely say that the thing has a very loud noise to it. And I think there's an excessive amount of drag in that machine. So there's a lot of cheaters on the top and a lot of cheaters on the bottom. And at the end of the day, I think that's why it sounds so sucky, and not in a bad way. It just, there's a lot going on there. Also, I think that we're getting some inefficiency because of that, because the top speed was pretty low. That being said, when we fly this again, hopefully it's not gonna be so close to dark, but honestly, the wind is pretty cooperative. We should almost just rip that ordnance off and fly again. Let's do it. Stay tuned. All right, so we took the ordnance off, all but the missiles on the rails, because the missiles on the rails look sweet, and this is what we took off. A lot of bulk, a lot of air resistance. Here we go. Take off flaps off. We don't fly. We take off flaps on this beauty. We basically just do it. So I wanna see if I can get off the ground earlier this time. We usually try not to back taxi, but I am gonna clear my timer when I'm out here because we had good time. 3:30, here we come. Guys, that is so cool. It just jumps right off the ground, just like the 64 millimeter. There go the gear. Ooh, it feels a lot lighter on its feet now. Oh, and that looks so freaking sweet, folks. You know what's nice about this in terms of filming? Oh, I wanted to jank that around, but I don't trust myself. Here we go. Oh, that looks so sweet. Here we go. Oh, yeah! About whack that tree, folks. Watch this roll rate. That is insane. Okay, so bringing it in. Trying some higher alphage. Look at that, look at that, watch that. About 70% throttle up on the elevator. There we go, into the throttle. Let it relax down. Using the rudder to point the nose. And there we have it. Absolutely gorgeous full-time flight from FMS. Guys, if you want to buy this thing, help support our channel, buy it from the links in the video description below. Obviously, we love bringing you this footage when we review these planes. It makes us happy. But you can really make us happy if you're buying from the links. And I gotta say, I was nervous about this plane because the first time I flew it, it definitely made me wonked out. I was nervous about it. Snapping it. Oh yeah. That was cool. I wanna try that again. I'm just afraid of killing it, folks, because it's such a sweet plane, but you can do weird things with it that I'm not used to being able to do. Well, let's go upside down loop, see what it does. Oh, nice high alpha backward. Okay, I'm just gonna turn it around. Sorry, camera crew, going overhead here. Those LEDs are lifesavers right now. I can see the pitch and attitude of the airplane perfectly. Little bit of rudder to get her going down the runway, and then a little bit of rudder to let her go back over the field. Man, that looks absolutely fantastic. 1 minute? Are you serious? Here we go. Big old loop, and then janking it at the top. Look at this. That is so cool. And then back to the ground. Guys, you can do some crazy stuff with this plane, and I am just not near the pilot I'd like to be able to deliver these things up and see this thing back in one piece. But let's see a roll here. There we go, and up. And we're going right down the runway as soon as we get it in position. Guys, those maneuvers are not easy to do with other jets. I can say that for certain. This plane is definitely something different. It's definitely something exciting. Gonna turn around here. You good? Mm-hmm. Okay, gear coming down. That's our final countdown. It's the final countdown. Okay, just let it come to the ground, guys. All I'm doing, just rocking it. A little bit of throttle, a little bit of throttle. Oh yeah, baby. Did you see that bird take off from behind me? What the heck are you doing, bird? Full reflex. Oh, there may have been some talk about my yelling. We've been working on it. You gonna stop sometime?
No kidding. Where are you going?
Good lordy lord. No, I'm serious. I'm not giving it any throttle. You know how people say they have flyaways? I have driveaways. Okay, out of the flappage. All right, so just to be clear, folks, let's talk about this for a few minutes as we back taxi for the next half an hour. That was a fairly exhilarating experience. I don't want to overestimate how crazy it was, but I'm definitely going to do this. I'm going to go into my full expo mode just because I feel like it's definitely wonk on the ground, as in there's an asymmetry, or excuse me, there's a disparity between the trim on the rudder in the air and the rudder on the ground, and you guys all know exactly what I'm talking about, so I'm having to ride the gnat's behind to keep that thing going straight, but goodness gracious, does it look good going straight. Man, that is a gorgeous looker. I'm gonna turn to my right and just give you guys the full presentation turn. Oh yeah, I don't need you, camera crew. Look at this. That was the airplane talking to you. It was being too cool for its own good.
Sure.
I'm just gonna totally overshoot the runway. That plane looks so fantastic. And I must say that even though I felt like somewhat of a passenger while flying it, and I hope that that resonates with anybody who has flown the Rafale, I definitely feel way more passenger than I do pilot. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't hate it because, to be honest, it does a pretty stinking good job of flying itself. But at the end of the day, is it absolutely gorgeous? You better believe it. And yes, is it absolutely easier to land than I remember? Oh, you better believe it. I was trying to do flaps before, guys. And I can tell you this, there's something about this plane that just screams, I'm cool. Because look at the livery on the thing. It's just over the top. Also, I must say, let's talk about the sky for a minute. The sky is pink, white, gray, all these different colors. And the blue against those LEDs just pops. It makes it so good. And I remember the first time we made it, I was flying up against sky like this, but darker. And I remember that plane disappeared up against the sky. And occasionally, as a pilot, you make a bad decision about where and when to fly and how to fly. And if you're gonna fly on, like a postage stamp runway, or if you're gonna try to land it on an aircraft carrier like we do a lot. And to be honest with you, our runway is great for a lot of things, but our runway is not 900 feet long. Now, it would be cool. Can we do it?
No.
So anyway, maybe someday. But the other thing that would fix that problem is just a little bit of avian ESC. Oh yeah. But we set ours up with the Laminar X receiver, so we wouldn't even be able to run it because it's not a smart ESC. So that being said, with an extra 1 or 2 channels, you could put any thrust reversing ESC and you could get yourself slowed down in a hurry. The other thing you could do is put some brakes on the wheels. The other thing you could do is get into high alpha and be in high alpha and then just like plop it down like that. You guys love it when I scream at the screen. So I just did it there. No extra charge for that. But that being said, all 3 wheels, all 3 oleos on all 3 bogies are all spring loaded. The nose being the softest, which is exactly the way it should be. But I still am gonna complain about a few things. Complaint number 1, why the heck don't we have squishy tires? I love having squishy pairs in my hands, and I know you do too. So give us some squishy tires, please. We know you can put them on the cars. Start putting them on the planes because that's what people are demanding, as in me. So I love the plane other than that. And to be honest with you, it's just weird because I'm not used to flying it. And I gotta say, I love the way it flew a lot better without the ordnance than I did with the ordnance. But also I wanna check that statement by saying it was my true maiden and my true second flight of this one. Now, I did fly the other one, but you wanna know how many times I flew that plane? I think 3 times or twice.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's still
a long time ago.
It's still sitting there looking pretty.
It is.
But I gotta be honest with you. There's certain planes that just make me nervous. And this one, once it's in the air, it's pretty good flying. I mean, honestly, it flies good. And you could turn around like right here for no apparent reason. And it's very weird. If you tried to do that with the F-16 Thunderbirds, boom, you'd be in the ground, lawn dart. Because the thing is, you gotta get enough airspeed. You gotta get, into configurations where you got enough airflow over I don't understand how it does it, to be honest. It's going really slow up there. Not only that, but you can get this thing off the ground in like 0, well, not 0 feet. That's probably 40 feet.
Fast though.
But then once it goes, it's
yeah.
Rocket ship. And it's almost hard not to rocket ship launch. I wanted to launch like this and pull the gear up like a cool jet maneuver. But honestly, well, here I go. And that's exactly what happened with the 64 millimeter. There's gonna be something about this airframe that says, I'm gonna pivot. Now I'm gonna say, I think what it is that the canards tend to exacerbate any pitch moment on the airplane, and they turn into an exaggerator, which is also why you can go up here and do these like weird flips and stuff at almost no miles per hour and still simultaneously maintain some level of control. Also, I love the fact that I can roll this thing when I'm in high alpha and I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no. You just roll. You just roll. You gotta have enough to not be in a complete high alpha lock, but you can still do it. And I must say, I got into one high alpha lock on the 64 millimeter Rafale, which was just released not too long ago. So if you haven't seen the video, check it out in our playlist or go to www.brianphillipsrc.com. You can check out every plane that we've ever reviewed by manufacturer. And that is one way to help support us too, because then when you follow and you watch the video, then you can click the link and buy it if you like it. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Between the 64 and the 80, we've got much cheaper and much more expensive. But I gotta say, the performance on the 80 is so night and day different. I mean, I'm trying to come up with an analogy that will not be total BS, but it will help you understand the difference without just watching the video. You can watch the video and see for yourself. But really, I'm feeling like 400 millimeter Warbird from Eachine compared to like 1.2 meter from E-flite. That's the difference in flight characteristics. Not that the 400 millimeter flies bad, it's just that like the 1.2 it's not even in the same realm, okay? It's like a totally different hobby grade experience with full immersive controls. Whereas over here, you've got like a fun hobby grade environment, but it's still like really light on the controls and cheap, you know, ready to fly transmitter, you know, you've got those limitations. But notwithstanding the fact that you're on an expensive transmitter with an expensive radio, in fact, we use a more expensive radio on the 64, ironically, but they both have reflex. They both have auto leveling if you want them, but we didn't set ours up to be able to switch between stabilizer and auto leveling. And to be honest, I didn't care, because the thing is, as soon as you let off the controls, this plane, I mean, it's, you know, you got to get it into the right attitude, but then you just let go and it'll just keep going. It's amazing. It's very weird. And it gets into a perfect glide slope with virtually no input, unless you have a lot of throttle, and then it pushes the nose down. So you have to remember that. So comparing the two choices is kind of like comparing like a 10-speed to a motorcycle. It's just not even in the same park. And I don't want to overstate it, but this thing is so much different and better in so many ways, but it's also a lot more money. So if you love the looks of this, but you suck as a pilot, don't get this, because it's going to scare you. If you suck as a pilot, you'll probably be better off with the 64 millimeter. And I say that in a loving way, knowing that everybody is on the spectrum of learning. When you start this hobby, it is hard and it takes a lot of years to get to where you're comfortable flying anything that's thrown at you, and I'm not even there. But the thing is, I can definitely tell you that this plane is a lot harder than the 64, but only because you can do the terribly stupid thing that you shouldn't do, that you really want to, that you just did, and it was awesome. Whereas with the 64, I feel like, you're just not going to have enough authority to get away with it. So you're going to immediately crash it and it's a done deal. So hopefully that makes sense and it resounds with some of you that have flown this plane, because the truth is, I think it's really cool. Also, the truth is, it does scare me a little bit, okay? And the truth is, the F-16 Thunderbirds kind of scares me a little bit right now. Same thing, the truth is, the Navy version before kind of scares me a little bit. You wanna know why? Because they are the most expensive and the most advanced EDF jets that I fly right now in my fleet. They're not the most expensive planes I have, but they are by far the least forgiving airframes. If I were to make a mistake, you're gonna land, it's gonna be bad, there's gonna be hundreds of dollars worth of damage or hundreds of hours worth of repairs. And you know me, I'm gonna force myself to fix it because I just am insatiable, right?
Yep.
So anyway, guys, awesome plane. Loved it. I hope the lighting was good, because I feel like this is good enough to publish for you guys. It's going to give you a very good representation of what goes on. And by the way, I just want to point something out too. For those of you watching and armchair quarterbacking, like I love to do during football and things like this, when you watch us fly this, you got to remember something. And I want you to remember this. This is real Maidens, no BS. Sometimes we might have 2 or 3 flights and we just show them in order. That's the best. But at the end of the day, we just set that up like yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was yesterday. And then we just flew it today. Now, when you get to a certain point in your flying career, it's not like as big a deal to do that as when you first started. But at the end of the day, it's not like we flew this 400 times. That was the first 10-second flight, and they were within the course of 10 minutes. So when you want a true basis for comparison, you can always come to Brian Phillips RC, because you know I'm going to yell at you. It's going to blow your speakers. It's going to be amazing. And we're going to tell you the truth. And you guys can make it for what it's worth. I mean, that's in the context of Brian Phillips and his skill level, not your skill level, not somebody else's skill level. This is just what we do. And the thing is, we hope that you can use that to really help make a good determination between, do I want to drop $600 or $700 on this thing? Or do I want to drop like $250 on that thing? Because honestly, $250 compared to $650, $700, that's what you're looking at by the time you plop a couple of good batteries in this or a couple of good batteries in that. And the thing is, maybe the RC budget is better spent on a PA-18 and a 1.7 meter, because I'll tell you what, I can fly that all day and love it. No matter if it's windy or calm, I would love it. So definitely some tough decisions to be made right now. We got Christmas coming up. If you're looking for gift ideas, come back, check the channel. We got lots of little things coming out. We're gonna try to keep the content pumping so that you guys can make decisions with your limited RC dollars. And we hope you can make the best of it with our little bit of help. And also, we're just super appreciative. We're 8 years into this gig and we love doing it for you guys. As long as you keep coming, we'll keep doing videos. So thanks so much, especially to our patrons. If you want to become a patron, we have a small group of patrons right now and they're super supportive, and we have some guys that are really supporting us a lot. And it's humbling to have those people really taking care of us, and we appreciate you guys. If you want to be one, check the links in the video description below. We also have PayPal if you're not into monthly support, or maybe you have your regular income or whatever it is. We still, by far, by leaps and bounds, we think the best way to support us is just buy the awesome planes that you like. That doesn't mean we don't expect anybody to buy all these planes. That would be crazy. But the thing is, if you like this plane really well and you're jumping and making your rounds through YouTube like everybody does, like I did, like I still do, when you find the one you like, buy it from ours. That's the way to really pat us on the back. And then the other thing you can do is just come back, watch the videos, interact with us. That's one of the things we do here. It's one of the hallmarks of our channel. And we love being able to have interactions. I just wish I had more hours in the day to keep up. I've been doing a really bad job of it, so please accept my sincerest apologies. Any thoughts, camera crew?
I think we're wrapping it up.
Wrapping it up. All right, guys. So much more coming from Brian Phillips RC. Thanks for watching.